Part 2, Game 11, Roy Lopez, St. Petersburg, 1914. White, J.R. Capablanca, Black, D. Janowski. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5, A6, Bishop takes C6, D takes C6, Knight C3. I played this move after having discussed it with Alekin on several occasions. Alekin considered it, at the time, superior to D4, which is generally played. He played it himself later on in the tournament in one of his games against Dr. E. Lasker, and obtained the superior game, which he only lost through a blunder. Bishop C5. F6 is probably the best move in this position. I do not like the text move. D3, Bishop G4, Bishop E3, Bishop takes E3. This opens the F file for White and also reinforces his center, but Black naturally did not want to make a second move with this bishop. F takes E3, Queen E7, castles queenside. Bold play, typical of Janowski. Queen E1, Knight H6. The problem for White now is to advance his B-pawn to B5 as fast as he can. If he plays B4 at once, Black simply takes it. If he plays first A3 and then B2 to B4, he will still have to protect his B-pawn before he can go on and play A3 to A4 and B4 to B5. As a matter of fact, White played a rather unusual move, but one which, under the circumstances, was the best, since after it he could at once play B2 to B4, and then A2 to A4, and B4 to B5. Rook B1, great move. F6, B4, Knight F7, A4, Bishop takes F3. He simplifies, hoping to lighten White's attack, which will have to be conducted practically with only the heavy pieces on the board. He may have also done it in order to play Knight F7, G5, E6. Rook takes F3. Taking with the pawn would have opened a possibility for a counterattack. B6. He is forced to this in order to avoid the breaking up of his queenside pawns. The only alternative would have been B5, which on the face of it looks bad. B5, C takes B5, A takes B5, A5, Knight D5, Queen C5, C4. The White Knight is now a tower of strength. Behind it, White will be able to prepare an attack which will begin with D3 to D4 to drive away the Black Queen and thus leave himself free to play C4 to C5. There is only one thing to take care of, and that is to prevent Black from sacrificing the rook for the knight and a pawn. Knight G5, Rook F2, Knight E6, Queen C3, Rook D7. Had White on his 19th move played Rook F1 instead of Rook F2, Black could have played now instead of the text move Knight E6, Queen C3, Rook takes D5, E takes D5, Queen takes E3 check, followed by Knight C5 with a winning game. Rook D1, King B7. It would have been better for Black to play King D8. The text move loses very rapidly. d4, queen d6, rook c2, e takes d4, e takes d4, knight f4, c5, knight takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, c6 check, king b8, c takes d7, queen takes d7, d5, rook e8, d6, c takes d6, queen c6, resigns.